welcome to the deep dive. Today our mission is, well, it seems simple, but the answer we found is anything but. We're looking at a political earthquake, really.
Yeah, an earthquake that started in this one small Texas border town, Eagle Pass, and it ended up fundamentally reshaping the whole national conversation around immigration and security.
Exactly. And when you say earthquake, you're talking about Maverick County, Texas,
Yeah.
home to Eagle Pass.
Right. For the first time in, 100 years, this county, historically Hispanic majority, right on the border, voted Republican for Donald Trump in 2024.
A century.
Yeah,
That single fact, it just changes everything about how we talk about the border, doesn't it?
it really does. And that's the core of what we're diving into today. Eagle Pass, historically El Paso del Águila.
Yeah.
It's always been defined by the Rio Grande.
It was the first U.S. settlement there after the Mexican-American War, right? The river's always been central, always treacherous, too.
Always. But what happened in 2023, the sheer scale of migration and the political fallout, it pushed this community, past its limit.
So our sources are really digging into that radical shift. How Eagle Pass went from being like the absolute ground zero for record migration
And all the backlash against the Biden administration at the
to
time.
now living under these huge crackdowns from both federal and state authorities.
And we really need to look at the trade-offs here. What did they gain? What did they lose? What are the fears that are still lingering, a year later?
Okay, let's unpack that, starting with the boiling point. Because Maverick County didn't just flip on a whim.
No, not at all. It flipped because the crisis became, completely overwhelming and deeply personal.
Overwhelming is maybe an understatement.
I'd say so. Eagle Pass was ground zero. To really get the scale of it, you have to hear from people like the fire chief, Manuel Mello III.
33 years on the job there. He's seen a lot.
He really has. And he talks about how historically crossings were just part of life. His own grandmother used to give blessings, las bendiciones, food, water to people crossing.
So there's this, human connection, manageable numbers.
Exactly. But 2023, that just blew past manageable. It became a daily, intense humanitarian emergency.
Mello said his department was getting 30 to 60 emergency calls a day related to migrants.
30 to 60 every single day. Just think about that burden on a local fire department.
It's not just giving water anymore. These were serious medical emergencies.
Yeah, severe injuries, broken femurs, hypothermia. Chief Mello even mentioned an emergency childbirth right there on the riverbank.
Wow. So this wasn't some distant news story for them. This was their daily reality.
Absolutely. The numbers back it up. For all of 2023, the fire department had over 400 emergency calls tied to migration. And tragically, 8 drownings.
That constant pressure, that level of crisis, it just eclipsed everything else, didn't it?
It really did. It became the #1 issue. So when you see the political shift, it starts to make a certain kind of sense.
Right. It moves from stunning to, maybe almost predictable in hindsight. Let's look at the vote itself, the numbers.
The numbers are pretty stark. Trump got 59% in Maverick County. That's up 14 points from 2020.
14 points. Huge swing.
Huge. And it wasn't just Maverick. He won 14 out of the 18 southern border counties overall. This was a regional message.
So the big question got here. Why? Why the massive flip? What was the thinking on the ground?
Well, our sources point to this conversation, actually, at a local McDonald's. Ricardo Lopez and his friends, all bilingual guys, Mexican descent, been there forever.
What did they say?
The consensus, pretty much across the board, was that, quote, illegal immigration was causing all the problems, and they felt the Biden administration just didn't respond, didn't help when things got really bad.
So it sounds like pure pragmatism, results-oriented thinking, forget party loyalty, forget maybe even liking the candidate.
That's exactly it. Lopez actually asked his friends, why Trump? And they basically said, look around, I don't like the guy, but he fixed the problem.
He fixed the problem.
Yeah.
That perceived outcome was everything.
It trumped everything else. Personal feelings, history, the urgency of the local crisis was paramount. That's a powerful political signal,
Okay, so that's the local view. Let's zoom out a bit. What does this mean in the bigger political picture? We have analysis from Joshua Blank at the Texas Politics Project.
Right, and Blank sees Maverick County as part of this larger trend. Republicans making inroads in blue-collar areas, including with Latino voters.
How? By focusing on stability, security.
Exactly. Economic stability, community stability, which in this case meant border security. It hits on those core concerns.
And Blake had an interesting point about Democrats maybe missing the mark by focusing too much on, shared Hispanicness.
Yeah, his point was, If people's primary concerns are safety, jobs, the ability of their town to function, appealing solely to cultural identity might not cut it.
Because their identity as, say, working-class residents worried about their town became more important in that moment.
That seems to be the argument. Their immediate reality, the crisis they were living, took precedence over historical party ties or broader cultural affiliations. The message was, fix this, now.
And fix it they tried.
Hmm.
Once that message was sent, things moved fast. We saw crackdowns from, well, both the federal government and the state, 2 layers of enforcement.
Let's start with the feds. After the election, the new administration declared a national emergency almost right away.
Which sends the signal, but also has practical effects.
Right. More U.S. troops deployed to the border. And a really key policy change, they terminated the CBP One mobile app.
Ah, that app was a big deal. It was a way for people to schedule asylum appointments legally while waiting in Mexico.
Tens of thousands used it. So ending that, well, it basically shut down a major legal pathway for entry. It sent a strong message of restriction.
Okay, so that's the federal side. Then you have Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, and Operation Lone Star. Very visible, very addressed.
Aggressive is the word. Texas built this huge 80-acre base camp right in Eagle Pass for 1,800 Texas National Guard soldiers.
That sounds pretty permanent.
It looks it. And the tactics. That's what got all the attention. Coils and coils of razor wire along the Rio Grande. State troopers literally telling people in the water to swim back to Mexico.
And Texas claims this worked.
They point to big numbers. Over 500,000 apprehensions under Operation Lone Star. Plus, the busing strategy.
Right, sending thousands of migrants to cities like Chicago, New York, D.C., making it a national issue in a very direct way.
Forcing the issue onto other states, yeah. Highly controversial, but definitely high profile.
Okay, let's bring it back to Eagle Pass.
Yeah.
All this action, federal and state, did it change the situation on the ground, the numbers?
Dramatically. Remember that peak? December 2023, the Del Rio sector, which includes Eagle Pass, they were seeing over 2,300 crossings a day.
2,300 a day. Just unsustainable.
Completely. Now, fast forward to September of this year, after all these policies are in full swing, the average is down to just 30 crossings per day.
30 from 2,300.
Yeah, it's like a 98% drop. The flow essentially stopped, or close to it. The mandate, you could argue, was met.
And those emergency calls Chief Mello talked about.
They plummeted too. The fire department went from over 400 calls in 2023 to fewer than 100 this year so far. Drownings dropped from 8 to 3.
So for the people living there day to day, the immediate visible crisis, it's gone.
It's gone, but, and this is the crucial part, the duality. Has the system been fixed, or did they just trade one emergency for another?
Let's go back to Chief Mello again, because he had that really nuanced take.
He did. He said, now Eagle Pass has gone back to normal, but this is still a broken system. Because you're deporting people doesn't mean that you're fixing it.
Why does he still call it broken if the crossing stopped?
Because, according to the sources, the community is now dealing with the consequences of the solution. The fear isn't mass arrivals anymore. It's the mass deportation tactics.
You mean like the heavy enforcement presence itself?
Exactly. Federal agents becoming a disruptive force, showing up at schools, daycares, and the constant worry, especially in a mixed status community, about U.S. citizens getting accidentally caught up in sweeps.
So it creates this new kind of tension, this hyper-militarization, as you called it, in a community that's always had this cross-border identity.
Right. The problem shifts from external arrivals to internal policing and, well, militarization affecting daily life. And it's not just human cost, there's an environmental cost, too.
That brings us to the river itself. Governor Abbott put those floating barriers in the Rio Grande with saw blades.
Yeah, using a natural disaster declaration to justify it. That fundamentally changed the river, the town's central feature.
And that prompted a lawsuit.
It did. From Jesse Fuentes, who owns a local kayaking business. His family goes back over 200 years with that river. He saw the barriers, the razor wire, as a desecration.
It sounds deeply personal for him.
Very. His quote says it all. The river can't defend itself, so I sued the Texas government.
Wow. That really highlights the conflict, doesn't it? The solution to the migration numbers created this whole new battle over the environment, local identity, against the very state that imposed this solution.
Precisely. It's a complex aftermath.
So let's try to sum this up. Maverick County breaks a century-old voting pattern. The border crossings plummet. The daily humanitarian emergencies vanish.
The desired outcome, in terms of stopping the flow, was definitely achieved.
That came with a price. Aggressive tactics, new anxieties about deportation sweeps, citizens potentially getting caught up, and this environmental fight over the river itself.
Yeah, the community traded one kind of crisis for a different set of anxieties and conflicts.
It really shows how local pain can just ripple outwards and reshape national politics almost overnight. Eagle Pass got the reduced crossings they demanded.
But the methods used brought their own set of problems. Problems that hit very close to home, affecting the very fabric of the community, the environment, their sense of place.
The river might be quieter in terms of crossings, but the community itself seems anything but settled.
That's a good way to put it.
Mhm.
So if the system was broken, like Chief Mello said, what does fixed actually look like? Especially when the fix itself creates these deep new tensions.
That seems to be the question Eagle Pass and maybe the whole border region is grappling with right now. A really provocative thought to end on.